All right, you guys, this is your first assessment of our first ever Hexstar. Just briefly, a quick overview. With the Hexstars, we're going to have to cover a whole entire unit in a week, which is crazy, I know, but I believe in you. I think you guys are rock stars. The skills you're going to take from this class are going to serve you in your conversations with friends, in your jobs, when you get out of this joint, and in writing essays while you're here really quickly. You're going to learn how to write an essay in an hour. So hopefully that's what you'll be able to do on Friday of every week. This Friday you're going to be writing about imperialism. Next Friday you're going to be writing about World War I. The third week you're going to be writing about the period between World War I and you're going to be writing about World War II. Week 4 you're going to be writing about the Cold War. And then week 5 you're going to be writing about globalization. So these are the 5 essays you're going to write. I've left week 6 blank to give you some breathing room, because I know we all need breathing room. All right, so here we go. We're in Unit 5. I'm going to go to the unit page. If you have any trouble navigating this resource, just contact me. I am chilling out waiting for your beautiful face to show up in my Google Meet every day from 10 a.m. to 11:50. That's an hour and 50 minutes that I'm here to work for you. My job is to work for you. So here we are in Unit 5. I'm going to scroll down in the unit. Usually I give you 1 video to watch and 1 article to read. So hopefully you've done that already. And then on Friday, you use the information that you got from those articles to write an essay. I also like to have these graphic biographies as part of our in-class lessons on Tuesdays, but this week I wasn't able to do that. So next week, you'll get to see a graphic biography. All right, here we are in the DBQ this week, and for your final exams, so for Unit 5 and Unit 9, you're going to be using Score DBQ instead of Turnitin. Turnitin helps you be more original, and Score DBQ helps you with every other aspect of your writing. So when you go to Score DBQ, give yourself a good 15 minutes or a half hour after you turned your paper in here at the World History Project website. After you turn it in there, some university professors in Michigan and in California wrote a program to help you become a better writer. It's the same program that's used for the SAT, for your exams in high school, your writing exams in high school, your state benchmark testing. So it's good to know how the system works before you actually take a test that's going to open doors of opportunity for you. So I'm cluing you into some secrets here of how the online grading system works. All right, so what's the question for this week's essay? The question is usually on page 3. Of course, you're going to read all these instructions at your leisure. Evaluate the most significant causes of the partition of Africa into colonies. 1880 to 1914, Common Era. If you scroll to the end of this document, you'll see where I get the tools that I use to do surgery or parse up this prompt. So at some point, scroll to the end and see how I do this. There's actually tools that you can use to do that. One thing that I do is I look for a verb. What's the verb in this sentence? Pause it. All right. Evaluate is the verb. So you're going to be evaluating or weighing multiple things. What are the things that you're going to weigh? You're going to weigh causes of partition of Africa into colonies. And that's basically colonialism. Like, what caused people to divide up Africa? Where's the place we're talking about? Africa. Okay? So that's right here. So we're going to be talking about this huge continent. Africa, by the way, is not a country. It's a continent. And we're going to be talking about why did the European nations, Europe is a subcontinent, in my opinion, and why did these countries up in Europe take over an entire continent of Africa In 34 years, they got together, they passed laws, they made agreements on who was going to get what piece of Africa. That is crazy if you think about it. It's just crazy. Like, why would they do that is one thing. Like, what were the real reasons they did that? And what were the reasons they gave? What reasons did they say were their justifications for doing it? And what period of time are we talking about? We're talking about 1880 to 1914, Common Era. So, again, you want to talk about the who being Europe and Africa. You want to talk about the when, or actually, the where is Europe and Africa. The who are the imperialists, the people that inhabit those countries, or the people that inhabit Europe. The when, 1880 to 1914. So remember to mention those things in each of your paragraphs. Go back to the who, where, when, and of course the what. What is colonialism, or the act of taking over another country? All right. So then usually you have about 7 documents. Your first document here is a quote from Cecil Rhodes. Cecil Rhodes was a British politician. He lived in the 1800s. You're going to want to talk again about the who, the where, and the what. And this is what he said. These are his exact words. I want you to read what he said. I want you to pause the video right now, read what he said, and then after you hit play, know that whatever, and then I want you to think, okay, in your own words, what kind of person was Cecil Rhodes? And what reasons, going back to that prompt, what reasons did he give? What were the causes for him going into Africa, taking a piece of Africa and calling it Rhodesia, named after himself, creating a country that he named after himself? What was his justification? So, read that and know that whatever conclusion you draw is a valid conclusion, and you should write it down on a separate document. Call that Google document DBQ5 and write down Cecil Rhodes thought and tell me what he thought, or Cecil Rhodes said and tell me what he said. So I look at the quote. Hopefully you've paused and you've written a sentence about Cecil Rhodes. I look at this sentence. I contend that we English are the finest race in the world, and the more of the world we inhabit, the better it is for the human race. What is his reason for inhabiting another place where he wasn't born? Okay, you're going to draw that conclusion, and your conclusion is valid. Make sure you use document 1 quote, and then after you take some of these sentences out of this paragraph that he wrote, after you take those sentences out, you write in your own words what you think he's trying to say there. You can do the same thing with Jules Ferry, who was the Prime Minister of France. So we have one French individual and we have one British individual giving you the reasons they said it was okay with them to take over Africa. Document 3 is completely different. Document 3 is not an individual perspective. Document 3 is a table of how much palm oil was worth in Britain. And the palm oil came from West Africa. So look at, and they used palm oil probably for their candles, for lighting, for operating their machinery in their huge factories. So what was happening to the price of palm oil in the years just before they carved up Africa? And how would the change in the price of palm oil change how they felt about who controlled Africa? So if you guys are into money, this is economics right here. This is a good thing to understand. How does money motivate people? If you're into visual arts, here's a cartoon to take a look at. In this cartoon, you can see the sleeping giant represents Africa. And his continent is taken out from under him by all these different flags of all these different countries that are mostly European. and how they're cooperating to take him down. What does this cartoon say about why people, what were the causes and how they were motivated to take Africa, to take over Africa? Document 5 is about the Berlin Conference. The Berlin Conference is actually a meeting that Otto von Bismarck called. He was a chancellor in Germany, and he was seeing all these other countries going into Africa, European countries going into Africa and taking pieces of it, and he wasn't getting his fair share. So he said, oh, let's call a meeting. So he invited all the countries of Europe over to his place. He said, hey, come on over to Germany, and let's make some rules about who gets what piece of Africa. Notably, there were no Africans invited to the party. So European nations all were called to the table to create some rules on how to take Africa away from the Africans. And so you can read this law that they created, that they wrote, that what are the reasons that the law gave, and how did the law allow countries to justify what they did. So if you're into laws, and how they work and how they make people feel like it's right to do what they do. Some laws are just, some laws are not just. So if you want to chat about that, give me a call. Stop in my Google Meet. And if you want to write about it, you can write a paragraph about how the law allows people to justify what they're doing. Pretty interesting stuff. All right, document 6 is, again, talks about trade. And it talks about profits. So if you're into money and you're into graphs, this is a really good graph that talks about the reasons, the economic reasons for taking over another country, how money motivates. Brutal. And then your last document, document 7, is a very simple quote. And if you decide to analyze document 7, include this quote. And I think this, you could say this quote is about militarism or military might, strength, and how if you think you're stronger, then maybe that gives you a right to take control of someone or something else. Brutal. Brutal. Okay, you guys, so enough of me. When I grade your papers, I always start in the proficient category, and then I bop up or down. Please look at the grid, look at your grade, and know that I grade based on growth. So if you get an emerging score, all you got to shoot for on your next one is a developing score. If you got a developing score, you want to get a proficient score. You always want to grow as a writer. Okay, if you've been in my class last trimester, most of you are now writing at a developing or a proficient level. So I expect all of you to grow in your writing in all categories, in your claim, in your evidence. Your evidence, I base it on how many citations you have, and also the way you tie your citations into your claim, and that you include a counterclaim. It's really important to analyze or honor the weaknesses in your analysis. Organization, you want to say, if you're at a level 2, you want to get to a level 3 by using transitional phrases. I can help you with that. Of course, for any of these levels, if you find yourself stuck at a level 2 and you want to get up to a level 3, just come into my Google Meet. That's what I'm here for. Language and style. Some of you have realized that I like to hear your personal voices, and so you use that. And I've told you, you know your audience, you know I like to see how you connect to your work. When you submit essays for state testing and for college and for your employers, you might want to be a little bit more professional in your writing. Just know that I just like to hear your voice. But I will call it out when I see stuff that's not really polished. And then world history concepts. The more you talk about economics, racism, colonialism, imperialism, concepts like that, your score in this category will go up. All right.